And we will have Steve Sutherland, former State Senator Al Lawson, and I believe speaking for him is going to be Curtis Richardson, and Floyd Patrick Miller. If they could take the stage at this time, please. Gentlemen, welcome to Jackson County and Chipola College, and we appreciate you coming and being a part of this great event tonight. Our format tonight will be that we will give each of you a question, and then afterwards, for a little bit of variance tonight, we will give, after the question is read and answered, we will give a little bit of time for response by the other candidates on that to give some balance in everything that is going on, okay? So tonight we're going to start with Mr. Sutherland. Steve, if you would take the stage, please. Your first question, Mr. Sutherland. Opening, you're correct.
I'm not sure who he is.
I've known him, so it just goes right into it. We will start with our opening comments. Mr. Sutherland.
Great. First of all, I'd like to thank Chipola College TV. Jackson County Times, and of course the voters. Thank you. I know after a long day to be engaged and come here to participate in this great process. I commend you and I thank you. You know, 2 years ago, I came through Jackson County asking for your vote. I came through and wanting to step out on an endeavor that I had never done before. Never been in elected office. I've been a third generation small business owner, following my father and my grandfather's footsteps. In our family business, we have to live within our means. We can only spend money we have. We can't spend money we don't have. We work hard. And I believe that as growing up in the home that I grew up in, where I was introduced to earned success, the purest and most moral of all systems, where you are rewarded for your effort, your sacrifice, your hard work, your elbow grease, your willingness to sacrifice from doing some things maybe that you wanted to do in order to do the things you needed to do, not just in service to self, but in service to your community. And so after much deliberation, a lot of prayers, talking with my family, we made the decision to run for Congress. And we were proud when the people of Florida's 2nd Congressional District elected us, the first Republican since 1882. And you know, we made promises about going to Washington, D.C., and working hard and correcting the things that need to be corrected there to get D.C. in line with the values that we have. You only spend what you have. You have to make choices, because what we're doing there is going to harm our generations to come. I'm proud to stand here before you tonight knowing that I fulfilled my promises. I look forward to tonight's debate, look forward to the opportunity of asking for your trust once again. Thank you for this evening and for allowing us to have this meeting. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Sutherland. Representing Mr. Lawson will be Curtis Richardson.
Good evening. I'm Curtis Richardson. I'm here representing Senator Lawson, who is running for the United States Congress in District 2. He is sorry that he couldn't be here this evening. Of course, running in a district as wide as District 2 is, he had a scheduling conflict. But I want to thank the Jackson County Times, Sid, and his staff, and of course each of you for being here this evening and being a part of this process. This is probably one of the most critical elections that we have faced in our lifetimes, because it will determine the future for generations to come in our nation. Senator Lawson is a product of North Florida. He was born and raised in Gaston County, worked his way up from the tobacco fields of Gaston County. They didn't give him much of a chance when he was in school. His family lost all of their belongings in a house fire, and they had to overcome that adversity in life. But he worked his way up, graduated from high school, got his education at Florida A&M University and Florida State, became an athletic coach, and played for a while in the professional leagues, but came back to North Florida because he wanted to give back to the community that had been so good to him and his family. Senator Lawson shares our values, our North Florida values of family and hard work and faith and morals, a strong work ethic. He believes in public service and has served us honorably for the last 28 years in the Florida legislature, championing small rural districts, families, education, our fishermen on the coast, preserving our environment. And he wants to take that to Washington now. I met Steve as a board member of Covenant Hospice and got to know him a little bit in that capacity. And even though I didn't support his election, I had high hopes of what he might do in Washington. And I think Steve has gone and become a part of what's wrong with Washington. And that's what we need to discuss in changing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Now, Mr. Miller.
Race. I am here to give people choice in our government. I am here for improvements in education across the board in the areas of infrastructure, applying new technology for advanced teacher education, better pay for teachers, and allowing seniors who wish to teach to do so without losing their retirement benefits. I am here to work to fully fund our Social Security. I believe that we can do so by cutting the 116 or 110,000 cap that's on it. That exemption going away would help us fund it totally. I am for better wages for all civil servants, for our police departments, our firefighters, our prison guards, EMT. If they can put their lives on the line, we should pay them something more than a poverty level wage. I am for raising the minimum wage to a living wage. The wages now are half of what poverty level is. If we raise it to where it should be $15.50 an hour. That will empower we, the working class, to be able to refund our local governments by spending the monies that we would earn. We would be able to help our local real estate by qualifying for loans, and it would empower we, the people, to help ourselves. I'm for keeping the control of natural resources, of oil, natural gas, and minerals, and federal water and federal land for we, the people. The one find off the coast of Alaska is expected to produce 90 billion barrels of oil that they'll be able to pump in 7 years. It is an amount of over $8 trillion. It's half of our national debt to be covered by the oil that we hold as a country. If Halliburton can support our military, we can hire Halliburton to drill our oil. I'm for ending the war on drugs and legalizing hemp for commercial use. Ending the war on drugs will save billions, and open communication with law enforcement to stop violent gangs and domestic violence. And thank you for allowing me to be here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Our first question will go to Mr. Sutherland. Mr. Sutherland, Mr. Lawson's supporters have been running TV ads stating that you plan to take over $700 million out of Medicaid. How do you respond to that claim, sir?
Their claim is actually $700 billion. And the fact is the Democrats under President Obama actually already did that through the passage of the health care bill. And by the way, I grew up in a home where my mom taught me and my siblings that nothing good goes on after midnight. And probably some of your moms told you that too. A health care bill that I might add was passed at 1 o'clock in the morning while the American people slept. 2,600-page bill that they didn't even know what was in it. And what it does is it puts bureaucrats in between you and your doctor. And what the health care bill did was take $700 billion out of Medicare, a program that's not an entitlement, because the seniors have planned for that program. They deserve that program. My mom and dad are on that program, equal to Social Security. And they took $700 billion to a massive expansion of Medicaid. So Medicare, as we know it, ceased to exist on that Sunday night that they passed that bill when no one was watching. I refuse to do that, and I will change what they did. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to respectfully disagree with the congressman on that, because what the President's Affordable Health Care Act does is actually use savings from the affordable health care to put back into Medicare. Now, the budget that Congressman Ryan proposed would actually take $716 billion out of Medicare, and it will become a voucher program. And I can tell you, I know individuals, and I have been a champion for persons with disabilities, and I know what long-term needs they have and the expense of the care that they require. And you give them a voucher and say, well, when your voucher money is up, you're on your own. Can you imagine what that would do to a family and to those individuals who need that care? So, no, the president's plan does not take $716 billion out of Medicare. That comes from savings from getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in the Medicare program.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miller, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the Al representative that it is taking the waste and the abuse and it is putting it back into Medicare. I believe that we can fully fund Medicare again by allowing we the people better wages, and our wages will again help fund Medicare. I believe that we should have the option to the single payer plan where our wages will fund the Medicare. I believe that stopping the waste and fraud like the Rick Scotts of the world would help refund it also. That's the fraud and abuse that they're talking about, the privatization of the whole system. I am against giving a voucher program, and I am for fully defending Medicare. Again, it is not an entitlement. That is part of our wages of the working class, and that is why I'm here, is to defend we the people in the working class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Richardson, the next question will go to you, sir. Some have said that Mr. Lawson would just join the Democratic establishment in Washington and vote along party lines and just become part of the old system in Washington. How do you respond to that, sir?
Well, I would respond to that by saying that's what we had hoped that our current congressman would not have done, when in fact he did. As I indicated, I think Congressman Sutherland has become a part of the problem. He went to Washington and drunk the tea. One of the first things he did before he even attended his first committee meeting was to have a fundraiser with the Washington Fat Cats to raise millions of dollars for his reelection. He has pledged his loyalty to a Tea Party and to people like Grover Norquist that he would never raise revenue, even if we needed it for the needs of this state and this nation. Senator Lawson has proven time and time again that he is the kind of individual who can reach across party lines and work with Republicans and others to get things done. And he has done that. He's proven it time and time again, and he will take that same bipartisanship to Washington and fix what's wrong with our government. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miller, your responses.
Me being independent, I will have to work with both sides. I am here to get the big money out of our government, going against two different parties who have well over $1 million each for this. And you've got to wonder where it came from and what they're going to have to do to keep that vote and keep that money coming to them. I agree that the Chamber of Commerce has been trying to take over our system for 40 years, and Mr. Sullivan comes straight out of the Chamber of Commerce. I agree that we need to take care of small business, but there has to be sensible regulation and there has to be sensible taxes. Our debt has been climbing out of control because the tax rate has come down from, in the 50s, it was 93% for the wealthiest in this country. In the early 80s, it was 70%. And now the wealthiest in this country pay less than 15%, pay less than we, the working class. There has to be sensible regulation and sensible taxes. Thank you very much.
Sir, Mr. Sutherland.
Restate the question, please.
Yes, sir. Some have said that Mr. Lawson would just join the Democratic establishment in Washington, vote along party lines, and just become part of the old system in Washington. And he was asked how to respond.
Well, clearly, I think you've seen an idea on this campaign where about 80% of the dollars that are coming against me are coming from inside of D.C., whereas 6 out of every $8 that I have are monies that I've received directly from the people that live in the district. This is a perfect example. Senator Lawson's local fundraising dollars have not been enough for him to mount a campaign. So therefore, over $800,000 has come to me from D.C. And Senator Lawson's first vote would be to put Mrs. Pelosi back in the speaker's chair. We've lived that nightmare. And I will tell you, we can't afford to relive that again. I think that last year when I stood up against my own party leadership, I was one of 10 freshmen that said, you know what, I'm not going to be a part of a bill that guts our defense by $500 billion. Also in that same bill that formed a super committee that failed, that same bill gut Medicare by an additional $150 billion. And so therefore, had I voted for that bill, I would have gave your voting card to 12 people, and I would have broken my promise to our seniors and our military, and I won't do that.
Thank you, sir. We will ask, if you will, during the time, once their talk is over, if you will, hold your applause to the very end, and then we will do applause for each of them at the very end. Thank you. The next question is going to be from Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, would you like to state why you are running as a write-in candidate and why you chose this route instead of affiliating with a party? And do you feel that you have a chance in winning with this path that you have chosen?
Just the fact that I'm participating gives me the opportunity. I have faith in the people and that they will choose somebody different. And the reason why I did it as a write-in is it costs money to get involved as a party. It takes $7,000 to start the process unless you go after the petition drive, which I will continue this fight. I'm here to work for the working class. I'm here to work for myself. This is self-defense for the wages that I've paid into Social Security and Medicare. This is self-defense for the working class against the bureaucracy in government, and it's for we to know that we can protect and take back the control of our government. We must have faith in our government. There's so many people that don't believe that we can change our government. I've heard it every day that they want somebody from we the people to step up, so that's why I'm here. I am a working class man for the working class.
Mr. Sutherland, would you like to respond on write-in candidates running and the non-affiliation of parties?
No, I think that what Mr. Miller has done is part of the American process. I commend him for doing so. I have clearly aligned myself with a party that I agree in the platform. I agree with a platform that's going to reference God, a platform that is not going to make any bones about it, that this is a Christian nation, a platform that believes in strong family values, a platform that believes in life, a platform that believes in strong defense. And the best way we can guarantee peace is by having a defense, and that we provide for the safety and the security of all Americans all over the world, I might add, not just here on our soil. I believe in a fiscally responsible manner. And I want to say, I criticized my own party because from 2000 to 2006, Republicans, they spent money they didn't have. Well, this president has just continued that. He's put his foot on the accelerator. But I do applaud Mr. Miller. I applaud what he's doing. I applaud anyone that puts their name on a dotted line and stands before the voters. So I commend him. I commend Senator Lawson. And anybody that does this is brave. Thank you.
Please hold your applause. Thank you. Mr. Richardson.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Congressman Sutherland. That's the beauty of our democratic system of government, that everyone has the opportunity to run and to seek public office, and the most noble profession that there is, if you want to call it a profession, is to be able to serve the public in elected office. As a matter of fact, more and more people are starting to register no party affiliation because they are getting sick and tired of the partisan gridlock that has taken a stranglehold on Washington, and unfortunately, our current congressman has become a part of that. And that's what we need to get rid of, and that's why Senator Lawson wants to go to Washington and work across the aisle to address the issues that face working families, not to become involved in partisan gridlock, but to answer those challenges that face us in education and healthcare and housing, to make America become the great country again that we know she can become. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sutherland, the next question will be for you. Would you please inform us on where you stand on the issue of same-sex marriage and also abortion?
Well, first of all, I think that it's very clear. I have been very proud of my faith. I stand here before anyone that wants to hear this, that I'm a born-again Christian. I don't apologize for that. I don't shy away from that. I have aligned myself with the teachings of Christianity. And I believe just as our forefathers did. Our forefathers understood in the Declaration in the preamble of the Constitution, they talked about the blessings of liberty to us as well as to our children. And so, I believe that marriage is reserved between one man and one woman. I also believe that life begins at the moment that God creates it. That's at conception. Jeremiah 1:5 is very clear where it says, "For I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb." In Psalm 139, it clearly states that I knew you in your innermost parts. We are created at conception. That is a living soul, and I will fight to protect that soul.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Richardson, your response, please.
When that question came up, I sat there thinking, had I ever had that conversation with Senator Lawson? And I have to apologize. I have not had that conversation with Senator Lawson. I don't think in the 28 years that he served in the legislature. Certainly there have been issues that have come up, but I can't speak for his voting record on those specific issues. So I have to apologize. I can't respond to that question tonight. But what I will do is talk to Senator Lawson and make sure that when he's back in this community, that he seeks you all out and let you know what his exact position is on those issues. I apologize for that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miller, your response, please.
This boils down to equal rights. And in order to defend your right to your religion, and the many different religions in this country, you must defend the equal rights of individuals as far as the gay marriage goes. They have equal rights as human beings, as you have a right to choose what religion you want. And I'm here to defend your right to your religion and defend two individuals who want to do what they want to do at the same rate. As far as abortion, I believe that education is the way to help women not get in the situation, and to give men and women the knowledge of protecting themselves before they get to that point. I believe that giving women more choice when they do become pregnant, by giving them the option of adoption, by giving them the access to health care, to give them the support to keep the child, is the better route than to take away some of these rights.
Thank you, sir. The next question will be from Mr. Richardson. Mr. Richardson.
Yes, sir.
Supporters for Mr. Sutherland have been running TV ads stating that Mr. Lawson voted himself a big annual automatic pay increase while he was state senator. Is that true? And if so, how do you justify it?
Well, let me tell you, you don't get rich serving the public. Even today, state legislators only make $29,000 a year. And if you look at the fine print in that commercial, that was a vote taken in 1985, 3 years after Senator Lawson was elected to the House of Representatives. And do you know what the salary was at that point? $12,000 a year. Now, I'm sure Representative Coley can tell you, you put in serving in the legislature is much more than a part-time position. And Senator Lawson is a small business person, and he's been willing to sacrifice his business to serve the public. He's taken losses because when he's not at his office, he can't write insurance policies and be able to make a living to support his family. So, yes, he did vote for that in 1982. But it certainly wasn't to enrich himself by serving honorably and fighting for the people of North Florida in the state legislature.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miller, your response to that, please, sir.
The reason why I'm running for a federal job is because I can't afford the state job. It's very low wages. I'm here to raise wages for the working class. I'm here to make things better for we, the people. I'm here to, again, secure the funds that we paid into Social Security. I'm here to secure the funds that we paid into Medicare. And I'm here for raising the minimum wage. Again, it has to be a living wage. You cannot participate in capitalism if you do not have the capital. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sutherland, your response, please, sir.
I think the ad speaks for itself. I think that in 1985, I think that while the senator did vote himself a pay raise, a 50% pay raise, it was the same year in that legislative session that he also voted to raise the gas tax, or to allow counties to raise the gas tax on all the people across all 67 counties of the state of Florida. I think the optics of any elected official raising their pay 50%, while at the same time raising the taxes on those that they represent, I think looks bad. And I'll say this on what I've done since I have been in Washington, D.C. I'm proud that over the last 2 years, we have returned and have spent less money and returned. The first year we returned to $160,000 of unused dollars back to the Treasury. This year we will return over $100,000 back to the Treasury. And we voted to cut our own budgets by 11%. When you are $16 trillion in debt, that's what you do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miller, the next question will be directed for you. Mr. Miller, if you were elected to go to Washington, and would you have no biased power from a party organization? And how would you operate as an independent, or would you side with one of the parties while you were there?
I would definitely try to stay independent. It's an important part of our process to have people that are able to work. I have to work across the aisle. I'll be right in the middle of the aisle. I would try to bring people together and try to do what government is supposed to do, and that is govern. We have had obstructionists in government in the past couple of years who have stopped the simplest things of getting veterans the care that they need for mental health when they come back from war, to get prosthetics. They've been stopping the jobs programs, the simple things of infrastructure, and build schools and build roads. It's the most simple thing that we're supposed to have as a government that functions. The two-party system has been a stalemate in Congress, and that is one of the big reasons why I am running, is to work across the aisle. And I will try to definitely keep the big money out of the way. Again, I don't want the Chamber of Commerce to take over our government. I believe in taking care of the small business, but they should not be running our government.
Mr. Sutherland, how would you respond to working within party lines?
Well, clearly I agree with the platform of my own party. But I think we have to send people to Washington, D.C. that have the courage to stand up against their party when they're wrong. And last summer, after I voted for cut, cap, and balance, which said, okay, we're going to raise the debt ceiling because it requires a constitutional authority, but we're going to do it by changing the way we do business here. We're going to say $16 trillion to our children is irresponsible. And so we're going to change the way we spend money. Well, when that was passed in the House, went to the Senate, it sat there. It was tabled, never had a vote. So then they came back with another bill that my own leadership wanted me to vote for. And I was one of 10 freshmen that said no. Because cutting our defense $500 billion and cutting Medicare by $150 billion, that's not acceptable. And I voted no. When you're one of 10 freshmen that vote against the speaker, please believe me, everybody knows who you are. I've proven the ability to cross the aisle, as I have with the passage of the Restore Act, an incredible piece of legislation that was passed by the Senate, passed by the House, signed by the President, and now is law.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Richardson, how would you respond to the question of working within the party or outside of the party lines?
Sure. Again, as I said, in the 28 years that the senator has served in the Florida legislature, he has proven time and time again that he's able to be effective in representing North Floridians, protecting state government jobs, fighting against privatization of state agencies, preserving and protecting our environment, fighting for families, creating jobs. He couldn't do that, especially in these last 10 or 12 years, in a decidedly Republican legislature if he wasn't able to work with those in the majority party. He's one of the few Democrats that have held committee chairmanships under Republican leadership. And Senator Lawson will take that same sense of bipartisanship to Washington. I think if you check the congressman's record, you'll see that 99.9% of his votes have been along partisan lines, and I would suggest to you that Congressman Sutherland is part of the problem that we have with gridlock in Washington. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For our closing, we are going to give you the opportunity to ask a question of your own to one of the other candidates. So at this time, we will start. We started at the beginning with Mr. Sutherland, so we're going to start on the other end in closing, and we will start with Mr. Miller. Your question.
I guess I'll ask both of them, what are you going to do to do the job of governing so the credit agencies will have faith and the people in this country will have faith in our government? It's as simple as that. What are you going to do to not vote against raising the cap just because of a party line?
Mr. Richardson, go ahead.
That is an excellent question, and I can tell you what Senator Lawson will do is go to work immediately when he gets to Washington and begin to look out for working families, middle class and poor families in our nation who are hurting, who have lost jobs because of some bad decision making that was made during the decade of the 2000s, the early 2000s, up until now. Reckless spending in Washington, poor decision, unregulated banking, that cause families to lose their homes. What Senator Lawson will do is go to Washington and work with those who want to work across party lines to create jobs for North Floridians, to stimulate our economy, to pass the President's jobs bill that will put 2 million Americans to work immediately and infuse our economy and get America moving forward again.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sutherland?
Look, I think that the first thing we have to do in Washington, D.C. is we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. And I promised you when I was elected that we would be brutally honest. We're broke. $16 trillion of debt. Admiral Mullen, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, when asked about the single greatest threat to America's security, he didn't say Al-Qaeda. He didn't say Ahmadinejad, a man who's seeking nuclear proliferation, who's promised to destroy Israel. He didn't say any of those people. Russia, Putin, North Korea. He said it's our debt. Our debt. And when we owe $16 trillion in debt, we pay $400 billion a year in interest. What can we do with $400 billion? How can we prop up Medicare? How can we prop up Social Security if we weren't throwing interest money on wasteful spending debt down the drain? We've got to solve these financial problems we have. That is a must.
Thank you, sir. Our time has gotten away from us, so we are going to go to our closing comments for the evening from you. Mr. Miller, would you begin with your closing comment, please?
And I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to be here. And I'm here again to bring confidence back in our government, to find new ways of bringing revenue into our system. The minerals, natural gas, and oil on federal land and in federal water is a simple way for us to pay down that debt. We should keep the things that belong to this country and use it to pay down the debt for better education, to secure Medicare, to secure Social Security. We should work to give better wages to the working class. By empowering we, the working class, we will help businesses by being good consumers and being able to go and purchase the goods and services. Free market is we, the people, having the choice to choose the goods and services that are regulated and fairly taken care of. When we go on a global market like we're going on, we have to protect ourselves. It is the duty of the government to regulate those goods and services that are being provided to us, that are coming from around the world. And it's, again, I thank you all for letting me be here, and I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson, your closing comments, please, sir.
Thank you again. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight and being a part of this process. And I want to ask for your vote and your support for Al Lawson to be our next United States Congressman from District 2. Senator Lawson has proven time and time again that he is a fighter for North Florida. He will stand tall for you in Washington and fight for those values that are important to all of us here tonight. Our family, our faith, our work ethic, believing in America and the promise of America, making sure that the future of America is bright for us and for our children and our grandchildren. That's what Senator Lawson will fight for in Washington. He will invest in education so that every one of our children has the opportunity for a quality education, and that higher education is affordable so that they can attend Chipola College and other colleges and universities in the state of Florida, to live that American dream, to be a part of a global economic environment. He will work to create jobs across North Florida, to put Floridians, and North Floridians in particular, back to work to stimulate our economy. That's what Senator Lawson will do. He is a person that is of the people. He has represented this area well, and he will take that same work ethic to Washington and be someone that we can be proud of, all of us can be proud of, as our next United States Congressman. I ask for your vote and support for Al Lawson on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Mr. Sutherland, your closing comments, please.
I'm very proud in the 18 months, or almost 2 years, that we have been in Congress, that I've been a part of serving on the Committee of Agriculture. Farming's big here in Jackson County. I'm proud to serve on the Agriculture Committee, where we passed a farm bill. It still has not been passed into law, but I voted for a farm bill because I understand how important farm policy is for our farmers. I'm proud of the fact that I was passed a transportation bill that has been signed into law. Okay, and I was chosen to be on the transportation conference to negotiate that with Senator Nelson, signed by the President in June, that also passed the Restore Act to take care of our coastal communities. Millions of dollars that are going to flow to Florida as a result of the Deepwater Horizon. You know, I also voted for a balanced budget because you and your families, when you're sitting at your kitchen table, you've got to balance your budget. As we do in our family business, and you do in your family farms and in your small businesses, you've got to balance your budget. You can't spend what you don't have. I fought the EPA because sometimes I think the EPA has got their boot on our neck. And the EPA, in my opinion, is the single greatest threat to free enterprise. I see how the EPA really is putting our factories out of business. The EPA is putting our family farms at risk. The EPA is harming our economy. And I believe that if you send me back to Washington, D.C., I'll continue to do what I promised I would do, and that is fight to reestablish earned success as the model. I ask for your support. Please visit our website, SutherlandForCongress.com. I'd like to thank you for this wonderful evening. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you tonight for being with us. You may let them know how much you appreciate them. Coming to the stage now are the candidates for State Representative District 5, Marty Coley.